It started out like any other casual Sunday dinner at my parents' place. Laughter over pot roast, the clinking of iced tea glasses, and the faint buzz of Layla's phone as she scrolled through Pinterest boards for dreamy vacay vibes. Mom had made her signature honey-glazed carrots, and Dad was in a weirdly chipper mood, which only made what was coming next sting even more. Please subscribe to our channel and tell me in comments from where are you watching this video. The conversation turned to the upcoming summer. My parents had been teasing the idea of a family vacation for months, something we hadn't done together in years. It sounded like a breath of fresh air. After grinding through my junior year of college, managing 2 part-time jobs, and pulling off decent grades while trying to remain remotely sane, the thought of a week at the beach felt like a light at the end of the tunnel. Layla, who still lived at home and was just about to graduate high school, had already started dreaming up matching family outfits, beach photo shoots, and travel TikToks. She had even roped me into helping with research. I found cozy Airbnb options, sorted out rental car comparisons, and even mapped out fun local places off the beaten path. You know, the stuff that makes a trip feel less touristy and more real. We laughed and planned late into the night one weekend while watching old rom-coms on her bedroom floor. In my mind, it was a done deal. This was happening. This was our summer. Until it wasn't. A week before they were supposed to book the trip, Mom called a family meeting at dinner. It wasn't unusual. She liked to hold court whenever she wanted to announce something significant. I sat across from her, still buzzing with excitement, a list of possible island excursions saved on my phone. She cleared her throat, looked at Dad, and then turned toward me with that calm but businesslike tone she always used when she was about to drop a bomb. "Sweetheart," she began, setting down her fork, "we've looked at the numbers again and, well, the trip's going to be a little tighter than we thought." I blinked. "Okay, what does that mean?" Dad shifted in his seat and took over. "It means, with everything factored in, flights, accommodation, activities, meals, it's just not going to work for all 4 of us." I looked between them, confused. "Wait, you're not canceling the trip, are you?" Layla let out a small giggle as if she already knew something I didn't. No, Mom said quickly, too quickly. "Just making an adjustment." Then came the gut punch. "We've decided you won't be coming with us." Silence. That thick, suffocating silence where your brain tries to catch up with what your ears just heard. I stared at her. "What?" "It's purely financial," Dad added. "Flights are expensive right now, and the hotel only accommodates 3 per room. Getting a second room would have nearly doubled the cost. But I helped plan this. I found cheaper hotels. I picked the non-touristy options on purpose to save money." "We appreciate that," Mom said gently. "But even with those options, it still adds up. Besides, you're always so busy. This might be a good time for you to catch up on job searching, internships." And that's when I knew. It wasn't just about money. It was about convenience. Optics. Layla was still the baby, the one they could parade around on Instagram in her beach hat and designer sandals. I was the practical one, the low-maintenance one, the one they assumed would just understand. But I didn't. I couldn't. A few days later, the final dagger came in the form of a first-class ticket. Layla posted it on her Instagram story like it was the golden ticket to Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. "So spoiled, first-class baby," it read, next to a boomerang of her pink designer suitcase and monogrammed passport cover. I stared at the post for 5 full minutes, my heart thudding. First class, for an 18-year-old, on a trip they supposedly couldn't afford for me in economy. When I confronted my parents, they didn't even try to hide it. "Well, it was a graduation gift," Mom said. "She's worked hard this year." "She's graduating high school," I snapped. "I've been grinding through college while working 2 jobs, and you act like I'm the expense." Dad sighed. "You don't have to make this into a competition. It became one the moment you decided who was worth the plane ticket." The conversation didn't go much further after that. I went to bed that night, numb, hollow. I stared at the ceiling in the dark, heart pounding, anger and sadness swirling inside me like a storm I couldn't stop. The thing is, I wasn't just upset about missing a vacation. I was mourning something bigger, something deeper. The idea that maybe, no matter how hard I worked or how responsible I was, I'd always be second place in my own family. The morning they left, I stood on the porch out of pure habit, waving weakly as their car pulled out of the driveway. Mom and Dad smiled like everything was fine. Layla tossed a peace sign from the back seat, oversized sunglasses hiding whatever flicker of guilt she might have felt, if she felt anything at all. And then, just like that, they were gone. I stood in that silence, alone, like a ghost watching a life they were no longer invited to. But something in me shifted that day. Not anger, not bitterness, resolve. I wouldn't let this be my story's end, just the turning point. The first few days they were gone were oddly quiet. No breakfast chatter, no Layla's music blasting from her bedroom. Just the ticking of the old wall clock and the occasional hum of traffic outside. At first, I felt hollow, like the house was echoing my own emptiness. But then, something unexpected happened. I stopped waiting to feel sorry for myself. I started waking up early, not because I had to, but because I wanted to. I poured myself coffee and sat out on the back porch with a notebook, writing down ideas I'd put off for months, career paths I hadn't dared explore, graduate programs, art projects, side hustles, things I hadn't prioritized because I was too busy bending over backward to feel included. With no one home, I also found freedom. I played loud music, cooked whatever I wanted, left dishes in the sink just because I could. It was liberating, like the pressure to please everyone had lifted. For the first time, I wasn't just the responsible daughter. I was me, untethered. But the real turning point came on the third night, when I got a message from my Aunt Maria. She lived 3 states away and had always been the black sheep of the family, independent, unapologetic, and wildly successful. I'd told her in passing what happened with the vacation. Her response? Come stay with me for a while. Let's build something better. At first, I hesitated. It felt impulsive. But then I remembered Layla's first-class seat. The budget reasons. The way they didn't even blink before leaving me behind. So, I packed my bags. I didn't leave a dramatic note, just a short text letting them know I'd be out of town for a bit. No explanations. No guilt. When I arrived at Aunt Maria's place, it felt like stepping into a new life. Her condo was filled with art, books, and creativity. She introduced me to her friends, people who listened to me, who saw me. Within a week, she helped me get an internship at a local startup. Within 2, I was shadowing someone who turned out to be a hiring manager for a company I'd admired for years. Back home, my parents didn't reach out much. A check-in text here and there, mostly small talk. But I didn't chase them. For once, I was choosing me over their comfort. The real shift happened after they returned from the vacation. I didn't rush home. I waited until I had something to show. A month later, I was hired full-time at the startup. Not just hired, they offered me a relocation bonus and a flexible schedule so I could finish my degree remotely. When I finally went back to visit, I walked through the front door with calm confidence. Layla was lounging on the couch, scrolling through her phone, clearly surprised to see me. Mom looked up from the kitchen island, stunned. Dad nearly dropped his coffee mug. They asked where I'd been, what I'd been doing. I told them, slowly, clearly. Not to brag, but to finally be seen. The silence that followed was unlike the cold silence from before. This time it was laced with a mix of awe and confusion. They didn't expect it. Maybe they thought leaving me behind would keep me stuck, or silent, or safe. Instead, it pushed me to bloom. Later that evening, after the shock had worn off, my mom sat beside me and said something that stuck. I didn't realize how much we underestimated you. I didn't respond right away. I just smiled because honestly, I had finally stopped waiting for their validation. My life had already started moving in a new direction, one I had built on my own, out of rejection and resolve. And as for Layla, she still posts pictures from that trip. Sunsets, cocktails, beach waves. But she has no idea the best thing they gave me was accidentally leaving me behind, because that's when I finally found my own way forward.